Okay.
I'm good.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Cody.
And last year we went to the Autumn Tokyo Game Market. We got about 12 games here, and we just want to do a quick run through of what we thought. So the first game I got here is Midoriism Plus. It's by Yashichi for 1 to 5 players. And this is a game about getting cards and overlaying them on top of each other to create different rooms. You can Everybody wants to score different features, and you're trying to cover up each other's stuff. So, what did you think of that?
It was okay. I think everyone we played with was kind of annoyed that the cards don't have to line up evenly, so everything can go on diagonals, and it ends up kind of messy looking.
Yeah, it's a little weird, and the rules aren't super clear on like how you can cover up some stuff, so your house can kind of end up looking like a mess.
Yeah, it was still entertaining, but didn't feel like there was a whole lot of strategy, and you kind of just got locked into whatever cards you scored, whatever feature you would score, like bathroom or kitchen, and then if that happened to come up or not.
Yeah, it also felt kind of bad that like a couple of us were all going hard on one feature, and then the person that didn't want to score that kind of really didn't. It didn't feel good for them because they couldn't get a lot of points.
Yeah, they kind of just got left in the dust. I think that was maybe me. It's been a bit. I don't really remember, but
Yeah,
it wasn't bad, and I'm not.
yeah,
I
definitely
would
not a
play it
bad
again.
game. You would play it again, but it's
Certainly
quick,
not my favorite.
so it's not 20 minutes, so it's not like you lose. It doesn't feel that bad.
Yeah. I think it did end up taking up quite a bit of table space for as
Surprisingly,
small as
yeah.
the box is. So there was that.
All right, what do you got for us next?
Next, we got Yubicon Crane Game by Shimizu with art by Saibepu and for 2 to 6 players. In this, you're going to flip the top card of a deck, and then it will tell you which fingers you're allowed to use and how many cards you're supposed to pick off the top of that deck. Everyone else bets on if you're going to get just the right amount of cards, too many or too few, and then you have to close your eyes and do it. And everyone yells at you as you're trying to do it, trying to convince you to get too many or too few. And that's about it. Got any
Yeah, it
initial
was
thoughts?
definitely a weird game. I actually I liked it quite a bit, but it's pretty funny. It's really hard to judge where you are, and you definitely gotta try and get a feel for who's trying to tell you that you're good and actually wants you to be good, and who's like lying to you. Because the whole time you got like you think you might have around 10, and somebody's telling you no, I don't. You have like you're not even close, and somebody's like, yeah, you're spot on. So it's really hard.
I agree that it is very difficult to get the proper number. When I play, I mostly just ignore everybody and do what I think. I don't win this game, so that's not the right way to go.
Yeah, and I don't know if you said, but you either bet what more or less or exact, I think.
Yeah.
And if somebody bets exact, you get like extra bonus. So there was a number of times where like everybody flipped over exact. But yeah, it's really hard to get it. You usually a lot of times I think we ended up within like one or two.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we played 2 or 3 times in a row, and maybe only once or twice someone got the exact
yeah,
thing. But maybe we're just bad.
certainly bad. Yeah, I know. It was pretty fun. Fun little game.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun as a goofy, silly party game that takes like 10 minutes because it's just you go around twice. Each person gets to be the crane 2 times, and then it's done.
Yeah, and it's quick and doesn't really require much explanation. Just pick up the cards and try and get as many.
Yeah.
So
There were a couple times that like everyone betting on exactly right is just the only thing that made sense for them to have a chance to win. So that wasn't great, but it's a silly party game, so who cares?
yeah, pretty much.
There's also some nice like gold foil embossing on all the cards. That's kind of pretty, I guess.
Yeah, surprisingly for a tiny box, like the stack of cards is pretty big, and they all look pretty nice. So.
Yep. What's next?
All right, next is Nice Code. This is by Takuma Tsunoda. It's for 2 to 4 players. Everybody is a cat that's trying to get the golden fish in the middle and bring it back to their home base. And what you're doing is rolling it like 5 dice, and each of the dice has, well, 4 of them have some basic actions on them, and you have a special dice. And then you line them up and perform the actions in that row and try and get your cat to the fish and bring it back. So your dice will have things like move 1 space or move until you hit a wall or a tire. There's tires obstacles on it. And then your special dice will let you jump over tires, or copy another dice. So it's kind of a neat little programming style game, a little cute theme. So how'd you feel?
So the very first time we played this, we went through the setup, and the person we're playing with won on their very first turn. They were able to just roll the dice, and their programmed actions got them to the fish and back to their home base before anyone could do anything. So that wasn't great.
I think it was something like move diagonal until they hit the wall, and then they just immediately move diagonal until they hit a wall again. Back, it was like done with like a minor move in there. So a little bit of a sour taste to start, but I think if you know what you're doing, you can at least put the tires in a way at the setup to prevent that. I think our first round we kind of didn't fully understand the strategy in putting those tires out.
Yeah, because you put the tires out as blockers at the start of the game. And I think, that is very important. So,
otherwise, I think one of my biggest problems with the game was that all of the regular dice, the 4 regular dice you have a blank face on them, as well as like they have the go until you hit a wall or like move 1. So if you end up just getting a bunch of blank faces or move 1, your turn feels terrible.
Definitely.
And then the next person might just get 3 or 4 move until you hit a wall, and those are just like way too strong compared to the single moves that they might just completely run away, and there's nothing you can do basically.
Yeah, I think all of us had a couple turns of the I can do nothing or just move 1 space or something, and those felt bad every time. It wasn't like a fun, I did something so you didn't lost or anything. It was just I don't get to play and just watch everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, it was a neat game overall. I think it needed a little bit more time in the oven.
Yeah. I think I would have liked it if it was more of a simultaneous programming game. So where everyone has their own dice and programs the actions, and you do like 1 dice at a time or something like that.
I think that could have been pretty cool. So you don't really know what everybody else is doing and seeing.
Yeah.
The game itself, like, encourages you in the rule book to make up your own kind of house rules.
Yeah.
You could do that, and honestly, I'd probably say like cover up the blank dice too, or like put something in there to maybe equalize. I almost kind of wish they put the move until you hit walls on like a different dice,
not just the standard one.
Yeah, you weren't, so you at least could be guaranteed to get like 1 of them. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, it's a pretty short game, so I didn't hate it, but
I think it was a good concept that definitely needed a little more work.
Yeah.
Next up, I have Balance the Arc. This is a trick-taking game designed by Shibu with art by DTP Shichimaru for 3 to 4 players. In this game, it is a trick-taking game with 4 suits, and it's standard must-follow trick-taking rules. But the twist is whoever wins and whoever gets the lowest card for each trick has to put the animal they played onto their arc, and each animal has a weight. I think they're always one or two, with maybe a couple exceptions, and you have to try to get your arc to be perfectly balanced on both sides after a full round, and that's how you score points, I guess. But really, you're just trying to have it perfectly balanced, and either you get a point or you don't. So really, there's only 3 points available each game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. So, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting game. Part of the balancing is I think like the right side always had less weight than the left side.
Yeah, the rolls. The lore reason is something like, oh, the arc's off centered, so things weigh more on this side.
And then like also part of it was once you put a suit on one side, you were locked into using that suit on that side.
Yes.
So a lot of the strategy was like keeping cards in your hand. Like I would try and get rid of my higher cards and then keep my lower cards, knowing that if something went wrong, I'd still be really close on the right side since I knew there were lesser values. So there's kind of an interesting strategy there. I think the points are probably what I didn't like the most, because I felt like if you just didn't do good in the first like round or something, it kind of felt like you were out of the game almost.
Yeah, I did not balance my arc properly in the first round, and I kind of felt pretty hopeless after that because the other people we were playing with balanced their arc.
I want to say when we got to the last round, it was fairly clear that I was just going to win.
I think
unless
so.
like a miracle happened for our other player, and then like everybody else was out. So not great, because like that always feels like a bad situation. But again, it's also like a fast game, so it's not like a huge problem. But I think it's fun, neat. Like it's different than a lot of the
go ahead, sorry.
trick taking games that I've played.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting and different, and the way the strategy for what you're trying to do felt much different than any other trick taking game that I've played. Just like Brian said, I'm not sure about the scoring. We'll have to play it some more to see if that ends up being a real problem or not, but I'm skeptical of it currently.
Yeah, let's still play again.
But I like this. It's a good game, I think.
So this next one is Newsboys by Sashi for 1 to 4 players. Sashi pretty famous, so this one's a roll and write, where you're basically combining a card that's shown and rolling some dice, and then picking a symbol, and you can cross off that many squares on your map. And there's a couple different goals that you want to do, like filling in districts or getting bonuses for filling in exactly the right amount, as well as kind of a sub thing where you want to keep your workers happy by dumping into a strike pool, I think was what it's called, instead of putting it out on the map. So you're kind of balancing all that, and otherwise it's pretty typical like roll and write, where you'll write stuff down and that'll kind of cascade into a couple things. What'd you think?
I thought it was a good roll and write. Lots of fun, interesting decisions throughout. There was a mechanic where if you filled a region in exactly, you got a bonus of some sort. So there was good potential to set up a bunch of cascading bonus turns or bonus actions, whatever it was. So that was neat.
Yeah, I definitely remember like you could leave a bunch of zones like within one, and then when you got that bonus that let you put one extra square, you cascade that to every other like zone, and so you'd have a huge kind of bonus there. It also is kind of neat that like the card showed you kind of what you were going to get, but then you also had to combine that with your dice rolls. So
you could plan ahead a little bit, but
you knew perfectly. Like maybe, but not exactly. Um, but otherwise, I mean, yeah, it was pretty standard roll and write.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
I really enjoyed it as well. There's not really much in the way of player interaction. I think
No.
there's a bonus for there's four like main regions, and I think there's a bonus for whoever filled in those first, but like
Yep.
very
It
minimal
was
interaction.
kind of standard. Whoever gets this,
Yeah,
goal first gets more points, and everybody
right.
else gets less points. And there's a couple of those, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think there was any player interaction outside of that.
Which there usually isn't in rolling, right? So
Yeah,
that's not a big strike against it. I had it definitely liked that game.
yeah, I liked it a lot, and I'm always a fan of his type of games. So, what do we got next?
Next, I have Hako Bell Balloon. This is designed by Show with art by Momone for 2 to 5 players. This is a dexterity game where you and kind of a push your luck bluffing type game combined, I guess. So what you do, there's a bunch of bells and cubes and maybe balls of some sort
Mm-hmm.
in the box, and you flip the box over, and there's a string that goes through it that you can then pick it up with. And the play of the game is you go around the table, and each person can either pass or add something to the box. And when you're the last person that hasn't passed, you have to try to use the string to lift the box up and land it on top of the other side of the box without dropping a certain number of things from it. And whoever does that twice first wins, or if you fail twice, you're out. So, what'd you think?
I mean, it was a dexterity game, so it was silly fun. It was pretty interesting. I know I have shaky hands, but so I always feel like I'm bad at these. But it also kind of felt like some of us just kept pushing as far as we could go, and nobody wanted to give up, while other people just like gave up immediately.
Yeah,
Um,
that happened.
but I don't think the string itself, it was interesting because it wasn't like free. It definitely, there was a lot of balance that you had to give it. I don't know if there's a good strategy on like using the blocks to try and block off stuff. I kind of just felt like I just kept putting stuff on in random spots until everybody else passed.
Yeah, the blocks is it recommends removing the blocks if you want a harder game. They're like a first game or easier game like variant, I guess, but it is the standard is to use the blocks as far as I understood from the rules. Is definitely way harder than I thought to do it. I always look at it and go, oh, I can definitely do that. I cannot.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because I almost felt like every time I started, I felt good, and then as soon as anything went wrong, it just everything collapsed. And like the one bell would suddenly shift, and all of a sudden you kind of tilt over, and like everything would go flying. So
Yes, it went from perfectly fine to everything's on the table really fast.
and I think there was a mechanic where once you lose enough bells, I don't know if you got out of the game if you drop too many bells or something like that.
If you So you have a card that has I think 4 on one side and 3 on the other, and
Mm.
that's how many things you're allowed to drop before failing on each attempt. And once you succeed, you flip that over to the harder side.
Right.
And if you mess up twice, you are eliminated.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fun game. I don't have too many thoughts on it.
No.
If you like dexterity games, you definitely like this.
I didn't like that we played with, I think, 5 people, and after people started getting eliminated, it kind of felt like it went on too long at that point.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I may have missed a roll there was some kind of scoring that was supposed to happen once someone got eliminated or something. But it definitely took too long after the first player was eliminated for us to reach a end point.
Yeah, I'm never a huge fan of early elimination style things because it just feels bad, for both the
Yeah,
person that's out and then everybody else. I feel bad that somebody's like just sitting there watching us while they can't do it.
yeah. But I had fun. I will definitely bring it out at game nights, party game nights.
All right. Well, next we have Diver Go by Mashiu for 2 to 4 players, and this is also kind of a more party-ish game. You have a box. You actually play in this box, and it's filled with these plastic coins. So everybody at the start of a round rushes to grab a card that says how many coins they're going to get out of the box, and then in that order, you'll look at the coins and study them for like 10 seconds, and then put on a blindfold and attempt to pull out the amount of coins that you said. Now, there's like different colored coins, so it's like silver, bronze, gold, and I think black. And the coins also have can be cursed, so they'll have a little word or something symbol on one of the sides of the coins. So you're looking to like see which coins that you want to get and see where the cursed coins are, but you don't 100% know if every coin that you're grabbing is cursed or not. And if you grab too many cursed coins, you're out for that round. And what you're trying to do is collect sets based on the cards that I think, draft or pick. So you might have to get like 3 silver, 3 bronze. So you're kind of pushing your luck between like, oh, I want to grab more coins, but I don't want to grab too many cursed coins. So that's a fun little game. What do you think?
I thought it was fun. We played with the full 5 for this, or maybe it's only 4. But
It
we
is
played
only
with
4.
5
We
anyways.
did play with 5, so it's possible, but the game technically is only up to 4.
Seemed to work fine with the 5. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I like the grabbing the card at the beginning thing was kind of dumb.
It was a little weird, especially since we were playing with 5 and meant like the extra card somebody had to take.
Yeah, and I just am not overly interested in who's gonna grab a thing first.
Yeah, especially with the way our table was, like
Yeah.
certain ones are just gonna be close to you, and like if somebody wants to grab that,
Right.
I think it would have been better, yeah, if like you could just say how many you were gonna take.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand why that's there, so everyone's just not getting
Mhm.
exactly what they want, and I don't really know how to do it better, but I didn't
Yeah.
love that part. But I did like the main mechanism of close your eyes, try to get the coins that you actually wanted. That part was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. Like if you only had to get one coin, it was pretty easy to like figure out. But
Right.
if you tried to go like 5 coins, um, it actually got kind of hard because you grab like maybe the first 2, and then you'd be like, oh no, like where was those other coins?
Yeah.
Um, and you're trying to not accidentally grab a cursed coin, and also like if you're pushing too hard, you might just like the cursed coin's only on one side, so you might just end up with a
Right.
bunch of cursed coins. So you don't want to get too greedy. But yeah, it was pretty cool, and I mean, I like having fiddly bits. It's very,
Yeah.
very you get to get hands on with the bits. So
They're plastic coins, but they feel nice. They don't
yeah,
feel cheap and like they're gonna fall apart or anything. They feel nice to touch and fiddle with. And you can use like the edges of the boxes to try to orient yourself after you're looking. So it's not just pure chaos, random luck.
Yeah.
But like Brian said, if you're trying to get anything other than what's on the top, or like a whole stack of things, like if all of the coins you want are together, it's pretty easy to do that. But if you're trying to move around and go different places, you definitely mess it up.
Yeah.
I had a good time with that one.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Next, I have what is probably the biggest game time and rules heavy weight wise. It's Incel Seeker. This is designed by Regulus with art by Nakata Hisa and Takazaki Demiko, and it's for 1 to 5 players. This is a kind of a deck builder / roll and write, flip and write, I guess. Although I guess you're not really flipping or rolling anything. but the mechanism of what you do with your deck building is very much like a flip and right or roll and right, where you cross things out on a map and fill stuff in. You start each round by drafting cards, which you then slot into various action columns, I guess, on your main board.
Mhm.
And then you use other ones to either slot more things into those actions to improve them and make them do more stuff, or to activate your actions, which is how you then fill out your island, which you have 3 of. You have a main board that everybody has that's the same, and then each character has their own specific board, and then everyone has a random board. So you have 3 different islands you're working on, and you draft cards, make actions better, and try to build the best island.
Yeah, I mean, I did not expect this game to be as heavy as it was.
It was so much heavier than I thought. I was expecting something more in the lines of Newsboys, like we talked about earlier, but this is way beyond that.
It seemed very daunting. Once we got into it, though, I think you can start cruising pretty well. I thought it was pretty fun. Surprisingly fun. There's not a ton of player interaction. I'll say that much. When we were drafting, it felt like I just took the best cards for me. Like on your tableau, you might only be focusing on like 1 or 2 columns, so you're just always going to probably grab those cards or the wild cards. So it can feel pretty solitary.
I definitely agree. It was what I said. Newsboys felt pretty solitaire earlier. This was way more than that. This is big, long, like 5+ minute turns of head down. I have no idea what anyone else is doing. Look up 5 minutes later. Oh, are we done yet?
And once you get deeper in the rounds, you really start cascading like a ton of actions. Because I think the things you draw on the board, pretty typical of a lot of them, where if you connect something or there's like bonuses on the map that once you connect to, those start activating. So you can really just like cascade a ton of stuff and start drawing everywhere. So it can feel pretty good, but yeah, it just means that like everybody is like down. And if somebody has a short turn and somebody might be cascading forever, it can feel kind of weird because you're just like, okay, I'm done. Like now I just gotta sitting here waiting for everybody else.
I don't think I said, but it is simultaneous turns. So even though they're long, it doesn't matter as much because everyone is doing it at the same time.
Yeah, I think it'd be not as good if it wasn't simultaneous. It definitely needed to be simultaneous.
Yeah, and it was complicated enough that if you have AP, these are going to be some really, really long turns, and
yes,
might not be worthwhile at that point.
Yeah, I hesitate to play this with somebody that would be like super AP prone.
We both tend to play pretty quickly in almost everything, and even we were taking pretty long turns in this.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just like you'll get a huge cascade and trying to like memorize in your head, okay, these are all the stuff I still need to do, and like put all this out, and it might cascade even more. It could be quite long turns and quite thinky.
You also draft like I think 6 or 7 cards, and then you have to use all of those cards, and each one is its either adding it to your tableau to make things better or doing actions. So you're doing at least like 3 or 4 of these big long actions every turn, and you want to at least kind of plan that out in advance. So there's some long turns.
I focused pretty heavily on like 1 or 2 columns. So when I activated it, by the end of the game, I was doing like 5 different things, and then those would all cascade into more things. So, I overall though, I thought it was pretty fun, surprisingly.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it again, although not looking forward to teaching it again. It was kind of rough to teach. It was more complicated than I was ready for. What do you got for us next?
So This next game is Roguerite by Yasuke Sawaguchi for 1 to 6 players. This is a game where you roll dice, and then what you can do is draw shapes onto your map. And what you're trying to do is create the walls of a dungeon. So your map has a bunch of monsters and treasure chests on it, and you're trying to make these walls in a way that you create rooms that have monsters in them. And everybody's got a plan to design this dungeon, and then once you get to the end, the hero will walk through the dungeon, um, fighting monsters on his way. And if you have monsters in rooms, they'll gives you a chance to damage the hero and get points. So that's kind of the main way you get points, is trying to damage the hero. So you're balancing like creating these rooms, having more monsters in them to give a better chance. We'll also trying to like cover up treasure chests, and some monsters, covering them up will give you bonuses to get different actions as you're filling out your dungeon. Thoughts?
This is another one that ended up being a lot more complicated than I was initially anticipating. The roles aren't super complicated, but they felt hard to explain for some reason. I feel like
Yeah,
I think I taught this, and I had some issues getting everyone to understand, and I wasn't really prepared for that.
I think it also might have partially been a translation issue on some of the rules that we had.
That's fair.
I remember trying to like read and it decipher the meaning where it might have been a little too literal, and like you kind of had to just vibe what we thought it meant.
I thought it was fun and liked pretty much everything about it. It was very hard to figure out what I wanted to do early on in it, like to conceptualize because you're kind of making negative space hallway stuff instead of building out a thing. You're closing off stuff with the roll and write part, and that took some getting used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different than any other roll and write that I played, I think, where you're kind of, like you said, you're doing like the opposite, where you're doing negative space. And I found it pretty hard to strategize because of the way at the end the hero walks through the dungeons. There's this whole like mechanic where I guess whoever like did the worst, the hero went through their dungeon first. And if you left treasure chests in the room, the hero would level up, which made it harder to hurt him.
I feel like that didn't end up really meaning anything for our game, but it felt like it was going to.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a strategy there where you just leave a bunch of chests to try and mess with other people, but it all happens at the end of the game, so it feels kind of weird in that sense. And I think you want to cover the treasure chests to get bonuses during the game. So like it's a weird balance there.
Because there is also scoring for the first part of just building the dungeon. You score for, I don't remember exactly how that scores, but there are points for the actual building of the map.
Yeah,
additional points for hurting the hero.
I think there's something like points for like making sure your dungeon was completely enclosed and stuff like that. One of the things I didn't really like is at the end when the hero goes through, you're kind of you like roll the dice, and if you get a 6, I think the hero takes damage and gets hurt, but otherwise it had to like beat the number of monsters that were there. And sometimes it just felt like someone got like 3 lucky rolls in a row and they just got like a ton of points, and then you get to your turn, and like even if you had rooms with tons of monsters and you just got unlucky, it could be kind of swingy, which like it's not that serious of a game, but
it was pretty long for a ton of randomness.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with that is that since it all happens like at the end, it can feel kind of bad when you're running through and somebody's just like points, and then you just miss, and it's like, well, I spent the last hour and and I just missed all of my rolls at the end.
Yeah, that would probably feel less bad spread out, but
Yeah,
I did like the idea of the two parts of build your dungeon and then the hero run through it. But the hero going through it part, mm, I don't know.
it
It
didn't
didn't
feel.
feel
Yeah,
great. It didn't feel super exciting or anything.
yeah. It kind of just happened at the end, and we were like, just okay, you get a couple points. All right, you get a couple points.
I think well, I at least don't think I or thought about it properly to put enough monsters in to make them a relevant amount. I was thinking like, oh, one or two or three monsters, pretty good. I'm probably going to hit them like every time, but
Yeah,
the way it works, that's not really the case.
no. But overall, I mean, I like the theme of it and the idea. Um, it's definitely not perfect, but I would totally play again.
Yeah, it was different enough from other ones, and I
Yeah.
want to play it again. But I don't love it currently, but I'm interested to play it more and find out. Okay, next we got Snope by sorry Isuke Fujinawa and Kazunori Hori, with art by Mizuki Toyama, and this is for 2 to 6 players. This is a dexterity game about flicking flat metal rings to try to get them around a bunch of bells on the board. And you try to collect sets of bells to get sets of the same color of bell to get more points. And you play 3 rounds, and whoever has the most points wins.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I was skeptical of this game working, but it actually works really well. Surprisingly, the rings feel good to flick, and like it actually feels like you have a good amount of control. I mean, I'm not great at flicking games, but I still felt like I had control over what I was doing. I just had to have the skill to do it.
Uh, yeah, I wasn't certain that it would work, and I didn't really understand how it wouldn't just launch the bells off the board, but it does work really well. And except the board is kind of a little bit warped, and the folds on it, one of them, for some reason, the way that one of them is folded tilts the tip of your ring up, and if you flick from there, it just slams into the side of the bells, and you can't. There's nothing to be done.
That was the biggest problem. I think was the board just had enough warp to it that I think the first time we played, I was on the side that was kind of like up, and it felt like it was causing a lot of issues. And then like once we figured that out, we kind of worked around that, and it was kind of fine. I think if you could fix like the board warp, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, I need to try to flatten it out some. And like it doesn't look like it's warped bad enough that it will matter. So we didn't really realize until Brian was launching the bells off the board pretty much every single flick.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I was pretty surprised that it actually just how well it worked, and it was a pretty fun game. I think if you like any kind of flicking game, definitely check this one out.
Yeah, I've played this with quite a few non-gamers, and I think everyone I've played with has really enjoyed it. They at least act like they really enjoy it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this.
So next, we have another game by the same people. This is Planepita for 2 to 4 players, although I believe you can get up to 6 if you buy an extra set of discs, which I did not know at the time, unfortunately. This is a similar game. You're flicking discs onto a planet board. A semi-close comparison would be like Crokinole, where the board has rings, and you're trying to, the deeper into the board that you get it, the more points that's going to be worth. The gimmick here is that the board is magnetized, and the discs that you flip have a magnet on one side. So you end up flicking a disc on the board, and then you have the option of flipping that over to the magnet side to make it stick to the board better. And it really makes it hard to like flick it off if you flip it on the side. But there's a couple of rules there where if you flip it, it makes it worth less, as well as there's a token in the board that will block you from flipping it if it's in that zone. So you're kind of playing to get stuff in the middle when you want to like flip to keep control, but also like moving that disc that prevents you from flip to other areas. I think you play 4 rounds,
I think so. Yeah.
and you compare, how many points that you have, and then whoever, like Crokinole, everything cancels out, and then whoever has the most will then score. Which I think they get just a token for that round for getting first, and somebody gets a token for getting second, and then you just keep going. So
I think it was each region, whoever has the most gets a token,
right. Yep,
not a
yep,
first
yep,
and second thing.
You're correct.
So I think there's 3 regions, and then you get whoever has the most control power in each region gets the point token.
And the inner region was worth the most.
Yes, the inner region was. Yeah, like he said, the magnet is way stronger than I thought. You can definitely budget if you flick into it really hard. Like if you flick yours into a magneted one, it will move a little bit, but you have to flick hard and it's not going that far.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that worked way better than I thought it would work.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'd never seen anything like this where like the board was magnetized and it actually worked like that. So it was pretty cool. And kind of like the last game, I think the biggest problem was that the board is warped.
Yeah.
It's a common theme here. So it doesn't hinder it too much in this, but you have like these little extra platforms that you're flicking off. And I think what we found was we kind of had to have somebody hold down the side if it was warped so somebody could flick onto it. So it wasn't a huge deal, but obviously be a lot nicer if it wasn't. But yeah, I think it's, if you like games like flicking or if you like Crokinole, it's definitely something that you like. I'm not sure if we fully had the strategy down of like,
yeah,
where trying to move the thing that prevented you from flipping, or when to like flip your things to be stuck.
The piece that prevents you from flipping your pieces also cancels out any non-flipped pieces that are in the region that it ends up in.
Yes.
So I think this definitely has a lot more strategy to it than Snope did. Yeah, I don't think we...
If somebody piles too hard into the middle and they're not flipping, you can try and flick the thing into the canceller into the middle to like cancel out other stuff. So it might be worth to like see if you can get an early flipped one in the middle and then like try and cancel out everybody's. So definitely some strategy there.
Yeah, it was a nice mix of strategy and dexterity, and not just whoever's the best flicker is going to win, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Interesting.
Yeah, like that one a lot.
All right, our last game is Soup Scoop, which is just in a generic cardboard box. This is design and art by Sarah Monobe, and it is for 2 to 10 players. I believe this was the Sarah Monobe, the designer of this, is 11 according to the rulebook, so very young designer here. This is a dexterity game. It's a real-time dexterity game where there's a big bowl of soup ingredients in the middle of the table, and everyone has a little shovel and tries to scoop the ingredients out onto recipe cards that say what is required. There's like tomatoes and corn and stuff, which are shaped pieces, and then there's some cubes that represent bonus ingredients, and then there's a bunch of balls that are garbage ingredients, basically, that are negative points if you get them. So everyone's just trying to scoop the stuff they need to complete one of the recipe cards that are out on the table. There's, I think, 5 or 6 out on the table at a time, and just whoever completes it and grabs it first, then dumps their ingredients onto it, flips a new one out, and goes again. and you play 3 rounds, and I think each round is a minute. So, what'd you think?
This one's a mess, but in a good way. I think we played with 5 people.
Yep, 5.
And it felt cramped. We were like all just like in the bowl trying to shovel stuff. It says 2 to 10. I struggle to believe that you could get 10 people all like scooping at the same time.
So the 10, there's 2 different scoops you can use. There's the shovel, which is the easy scoop, and then there's like I don't know what to call it.
Like a wooden, more traditional soup spoon, but
yeah. But I think it's teams of 2 for 10 with
that makes more sense.
One with a shovel, one with the other scoop. Not that would make it any less of. I can't imagine playing it with 10.
Yeah. It was way harder than I thought.
Oh, we're so bad.
Struggled, especially some of the ingredients was a struggle to pick them up. Also, it's kind of interesting because like you kind of have to in the corner of your eye pay attention to if someone else is building the same thing that you're trying to build. Otherwise, you might just get screwed over if they take the card with the soup that you're making like right before you can. And you got like you can maybe pivot, but a lot of times it just means you have to scrap what you're doing.
Yeah, this is definitely way harder than I thought. I tried to play it with my wife before we played with the bigger group just to see how it went, and I think we got nothing done in the first minute. Just basically couldn't pick anything up, and I didn't really get a whole lot better. One of the people we played with ended up, she was doing like 3 or 4 recipe cards a turn by the end of it. So you can be good at it, but it feels really hard.
Yeah, I was surprised at how hard it was. One of the other problems I had was sometimes it was just hard to tell certain ingredients apart. I think like the tomato and the meat or something like that.
Yeah, there were 2 reddish ones that are similar shapes.
So I'd be struggling to like figure out what the actual ingredient I needed was, which is part of the game. So, but I would have liked it if maybe they made it a little bit different. I had suspicions that, based on the production, a lot of the pieces were just kind of what they could find that already existed, which is fine. I mean, it's a pretty cool way to.
This definitely seems like it was made by a mom or a child and her parents, and there was not really a design studio or real production involved. So,
yeah, but I mean, it was a fun idea. I would totally play again. It's definitely a very silly game.
This is of all the games we've talked about, and there were some goofy, silly ones in here. This is the goofiest and silliest. If you're taking this serious, it's not gonna. You're not gonna have fun if you take this serious, especially with 5 people or more. Like you're gonna be hitting each other's spoons, knocking each other's stuff off.
The whole time we were playing, we were yelling at each other. Why'd you knock my tomato?
Yeah.
So it definitely was funny. I was impressed just for, I think the family was at the game market selling it and, displaying it. And we saw it pretty early. So, and I think you grabbed it pretty early. And when we went back, it was gone. So,
yeah, I think it was the first booth we stopped at, and it looked fun. And so I got it. And then we were past it later in the day and they were sold out. So I was happy I got it.
Yeah.
So that was all our things. What do you think your favorite game of them all was?
I think overall, Newsboys was probably my favorite, just in terms of like, being a solid game, less party-ish, more strategy. Not that I liked all the games basically that we had, but I'm always a fan of the Sashi and Sashi stuff. So I was glad to pick up Newsboys there. It had been on my radar.
Yeah, Newsboys was a good one. I definitely liked that.
How about you?
I think my favorite is Snope, the ring flicking game. The metal ring is just super satisfying to flick.
I was so surprised at how well it worked, but it really does.
And the bells are actual like metal bells with the ringy bell part in it, and it just sounds nice and and I can play it with everybody, so it will actually get more table time than most things.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that is easy enough to understand and that anybody can really have fun with. So,
Yeah.
cool. Well, that was pretty much all we had. I definitely want to get back to Game Market another year. Highly recommend it to anybody that is interested.
Yep.
You can definitely go. You don't need to know Japanese or anything.
I do not know any Japanese, and went perfectly well for me.
Yeah, I'm almost just sad that there was definitely some games that I wanted to pick up and just either couldn't because I knew I wouldn't have the space, or I was already carrying a bag full of games. So there was definitely some that we saw that we regretted not picking up at the time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
a lot of cool stuff there. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Well,
I think
that's
that's
it.
it.
See you, everybody.
Bye.